Welcome back. I'm Sappy, and it's getting cold out there, isn't it? And what's better on a cold day than a hearty bowl of soup? So today we're going to be taking a traditional Japanese soup and making it even better. Thanks for joining this Cooking with Sappy. Today we're going to be making Tonjiru. And Tonjiru is just a miso soup with pork. The ingredients are a little bit different, so let's learn about those today. Check it out.
So what you're going to need today is a quarter of a daikon, half an onion, carrot, water, miso paste, 250 grams of pork, and konnyaku. We'll get into konnyaku a little bit later, so keep watching. So first, what we're going to start with is just cutting up some of our vegetables. I've already peeled my carrot, but we're going to start with the carrot. So simply just lop off the ends and just dice away. So I'm going to make this kind of thin, just like so. This way it'll cook pretty quickly, and we're going to try and keep all of our vegetables about the same size too, so everything cooks nice and evenly. Next, I'm going to take my onion and just simply slice it up. And let's just get all of those little bits there too, we don't want to waste anything. And now we have a daikon, or Chinese radish. You should be able to find this in most big grocery stores these days, but I'm going to show you two different ways to cut up a daikon. First, we're going to start with the traditional way. Just want to take off all of the little hairs that might be on the daikon, like so. Alright, so this method I learned when I first moved to Japan, and it's the more traditional method to cut the root vegetables. Just hold the knife in one hand and just bring the daikon into the knife, so you just take off the peel just like so. And if you don't feel comfortable using a knife like this, or you don't have these kind of knife skills yet, don't worry, the next method is going to be okay, and pretty easy. But here you go, we've taken the peel off. It should look just like this. Alright, so let's just put this off to the side, and let's show you method number 2. So all you're going to need is a potato peeler. That's right, just like peeling a potato. You're just taking the skin off of a root vegetable. So we're just going to go ahead. I'm just going to leave the daikon on the cutting board. You can stand it upright, you can hold it, do whatever you want, do whatever feels most comfortable. All we're doing is taking the skin off of this daikon. So there we have it. I've got the skin all over my knife, so let's wipe that off real quick. And just cut up another fourth of this daikon, and there you have it. We've peeled 2 slices of daikon, and they look pretty much similar. So you can do the traditional method, or just the potato peeler. Both are fine, whatever you feel comfortable with. So now let's just clean up our cutting board. Like I always say, just clean while you cook. That way you'll have less of a mess when you're cleaning up at the end. So now we're finished. We're going to put the daikon off to the side, and I want to show you konnyaku. Konnyaku looks like this. It's kind of like a hard block of jelly. It's pretty gelatinous, and it's grayish in color with some black specks. The black specks are usually seaweed. Now, what we're going to do is use this, and it doesn't really have a flavor. There's very little calories. And we're not going to use our knife to cut it up. We're actually just going to take a spoon. Now we're doing this, and we're just going to have some uneven chunks of this konnyaku. And konnyaku is actually pretty tasteless, but it's going to absorb a lot of the flavors that are in the soup. So they're going to take this nice, rich miso flavor in our soup. So it is a texture thing. You don't have to put this in your soup. I usually don't put it in, but this time I'm going to show you that you can put it in, and it does add a lot of flavor to it. Now, if you're not comfortable with a lot of different textures, then I might not use konnyaku. Again, it's pretty chewy. It's like a really hard jelly, and if you're not really a fan of textures or those kinds of textures, then I'd say don't put it in. But again, try to experiment, try doing some new things. Now that we've got that all cut up, let's just slice up the rest of our daikon. What I'm going to do is half this and then quarter the pieces. You'll notice that the piece is about the same size as the carrots that I cut earlier. That way that all of the vegetables are going to cook pretty evenly, and we won't have to worry about anything. Those are all cut up, and let's just take the other half that I had. There we go. Quartering those, just like so. And we're done. Let's put all our vegetables and all of our konjac in one bowl like this, and just put this off to the side. All right, so next we're going to go into our meat, but first we're going to clean off this board. Just like I said, clean while you cook. So now we have our pot, and we're going to take some olive oil, and all we're going to do is put some olive oil in this pot, turn on our heat, and get our meat ready. So today we're going to be using pork. That's why it's called Tonjiru. And for this type of pork, you just want anything, again, that has some fat content to it, but make sure that it's cut really thinly. That's going to be really important so it becomes really soft and tender while we're cooking it. The meat that I have now is actually the trimmings, so really use any kind of pork as long as it has the good fat content to it. I'm going to try and break this apart so it doesn't stick together too much while we're cooking it, and we're going to speed this up because there's a bit of pork to put in here. And let's just move it around and brown this pork up. All right, so now it should look like this when you're done. Do this a little bit closer to the camera for you. Just like that. And then we're going to put everything that we cut up earlier just straight into the pot. And we're going to try and mix it up a little bit. Make sure that we cook a little bit of the vegetables before we put water in. So I'm just going to speed this up because it's going to take a little bit of time. Make sure everything's broken up. I like to make sure everything's mixed around and nice and balanced. And it should look something like this. All right. I've cooked this just for a little bit longer, but now we're going to add our water. And what I want you to do is add about 2 cups. Make sure that everything's under the water because it is a soup. And we want to make sure that everything's cooked through. It might look like there's a lot of water after you put 2 cups in there, and that's fine because we do have to cook these vegetables for about 20 to 30 minutes, and the water is going to reduce and it will evaporate. So the amount of water is going to go down. So this is about 10 or 15 minutes after cooking, and you can see all of this at the top. You want to make sure that you can take this off, or as much of this off, because if you don't, it's going to give your soup more of an astringency taste to it. An astringency taste is kind of like if you oversteep a tea bag, it gives you that kind of bitter taste. And this is going to give you a really bitter tasting soup, so try to remove as much of this as you can. If you have a strainer like this one that I'm using, that's fantastic. If not, just use a spoon, that's totally fine too. But try to get as much removed as you can from the soup, and it will make your soup taste a lot better when you're making it. Okay, so these have been boiling for about 20 minutes, and I've been testing the daikon and the carrots to make sure they're nice and tender. They're not breaking apart as soon as I touch them. They do have some firmness to them. So just like this, you can just test any of your daikon or carrots. Now, this is about 20 minutes here, but it could be about 20 or 30 minutes depending on where you live. Just keep testing your vegetables. So next, we're going to move on to our miso. Today's miso is actually a brown color. This is a mix between the other 2 kinds of miso they have. There's white, red, and this is the mix. So it's kind of a brownish color. And I'm going to take the lid off here, and as you can see, it says dashi iri. And dashi is just a fish stock that's added into this miso paste, and it gives it more of a traditional taste. Now, some have it and some don't. Don't worry, it's not going to change the taste too much, but if you can find this, use it. Again, this is kind of a light brown color. This is a mix of the red and the white. And in the Kansai region where I'm from, people usually use the white, but I like this one. And you can see the paste just looks like this in the tub. There you go. So I'm going to show you 2 different ways to put miso into your soup. The first one's going to be the traditional way that I was taught. And most importantly, turn off your heat. So here we have a tablespoon of the miso paste. I'm going to take my chopsticks over here, and all I'm going to do is dip my spoon into the pot, get some water on the spoon, and then I'm just going to mix the miso paste into the soup. This takes a lot of time, so that's why I've sped it up. And if you have time, try it. But if you don't want to do this, again, the second technique is a lot easier if you have the equipment. So if you have this kind of metal strainer, this is going to help you a lot. This is what I prefer because it makes it so much faster. Let me just rinse off my spoon. We're going to use the same one and just get another tablespoon of miso paste. And all we're going to do is put it in this strainer. Get as much of the miso paste in there. And then just put the strainer right in the soup. And I lost that chopstick, didn't I? All right, let's get those chopsticks again. And we're just going to mix it up. So it'll probably dissolve really quickly, as you can see. We're done. Probably about half the time than using the spoon like I showed you in the first technique. Also, in this recipe, I'm only using 2 tablespoons, which is a really good base. If you've never made this before, start with 2. Usually I put in 3. I like my miso soups to be a little bit stronger. You can always add more miso later, but you can't take it out if you put too much more in. So turn on your heat and just simmer away.
All right, so it's been in the miso for about 5 or 10 minutes. So all we have to do now is try. All right, let's see, let me get this. This Daikon. Looks good, looks hot. That's perfect. Oh, that soup's so good. All right, you're gonna love this. Thanks for joining. This is Tonjiru. See you next time. Bye.
If you like this video and you want to keep doing more cooking like this, please remember to hit the like button, subscribe, and keep cooking.